Have you ever been told the secret to confidence is preparation? That the cure for performance anxiety is just being super well prepared? And have you also experienced being very well prepared or practicing as much as you think you could and still being nervous and still not feeling confident? Well, that's because there's something missing. There's a piece to this that I think is missing in the conversation between teachers and students, and we can't just physically do the actions and then just automatically feel prepared. Our thoughts and feelings that we habituate or we tie to our practice time, those matter. And this is exactly why practicing more won't change your mindset. Hi, I'm Chelsea. I am a flutist and a mindset coach for musicians, and I love talking about the human experience of being a musician, not only of playing your instrument, but also navigating a career in music, but also just being a human who experiences putting themselves out there and balancing all of the things that make us human with a creative practice. Now, I have 5 pillars of this, 5 reasons why practicing more isn't just going to automatically change your mindset. The first one is limiting beliefs. If you find yourself arguing for why something isn't possible for you, an audition, a competition, something you want to apply for, maybe it's a school or a graduate program, or maybe a really high level institution, and you find yourself talking about why it's not possible for you, trying to talk yourself out of it instead of into it. These words usually come out of our mouths or in our mind because we have some sort of internal limiting belief. I see a lot of musicians get into the habit of saying, well, it's just not possible for me, but then they still go out and do the audition. I want you to think about playing your best recital. I want you to think about winning the audition, getting into the school. How possible do you think that is for yourself? On a deep level, ask your brain. And if you don't think it's very possible for yourself, that's really something to look at, right? It's so important to think, okay, well, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Do I want to be like that soloist? And if the answer is yes, amazing, you can do it. Why would you think you couldn't? Except that sometimes we have some beliefs we've picked up along the way. That's not your fault. We've picked up these beliefs not with the permission of your own brain, and internalize them. And then we try to practice our way out of them. But if our motivation is coming from this place of I'm not good enough, then that is the thought that we're practicing, right? So we're practicing the I'm not good enough thought, trying to do a lot of action to prove it wrong. And anytime we're trying to prove something, I want your sirens to go off. You know, my siren is going wee woo. We gotta stop for just a second and be like, okay, wait, what am I actually thinking about this? What do I actually believe? And if you're trying to practice your way to dig yourself out of a I'm not good enough hole, that is one reason practicing more won't actually lead you to your best playing. Even if it does, you won't feel good about it because you're not thinking thoughts that are gonna help you feel good about it or create good feelings for yourself. If you want to hear my whole spiel on feeling not good enough, you can click here for that video. Number 2, how you are practicing matters more than the amount that you practice. And I will say that this is true 100% because the amount that you practice can wire in really negative feelings. So whatever feeling we have as we are interacting with our instrument, we are then creating a habit of emotion. So if you feel inadequate when interacting with your instrument, you feel hopeless, you feel defeated, that is not going to go away. You're practicing that association. So what we want to do is really look at the quality of our emotions. Not quality as in better or worse, but just different, right? Could I get curious about this instead of feeling hopeless? What story do I have about my ability to play this piece that may not be serving me? Reactions are practiced. So if you maybe make a mistake or do something you didn't intend to, which is how I like to think of mistakes, if you do something you didn't intend to in the practice room, how is your body responding to it, right? How is your brain responding to it? Just noticing what happens when you do make an error. When you do that and you keep habituating this negative response, then on stage, what is your response going to be? It's much more likely to be negative. And you probably won't feel good practicing 4 hours a day. So when you are habitually feeling negatively about your practice or in association with your practice, then your motivation goes down considerably because your body's like, I don't really want to do that. That feels terrible. Like, I don't want to keep going, which totally makes sense. So I say that how you practice matters more than the amount of time that you put in, because it is going to either sustain you over the long term, and not just for that hour or however long you're practicing, but how can I make this an experience that I can feel desire to come back to? That's really important for the longevity of your career and your life in music, because I know so many people who are unable to get their instrument out after so many years of this negative association with their instrument. Now, number 3, this is something that people think is automatically true. So just doing something more does not actually change your mind. So you can repeat a passage 1,000 times, but if you're convinced it's still not going to go well, you're going to have anxiety before the performance, no matter what, because your thought is it's not going to go well. It doesn't matter how many times you've played it. It doesn't matter how many tally marks you have on a piece of paper where you did it perfectly. It doesn't matter. If your mind has not changed about the circumstance or situation, then it's going to be able to undermine your performance. It's going to be able to come in and swoop in with self-doubt and disrupt what your body and subconscious mind know how to do. So it's extremely important to work on your mindset, to be aware of what's going on in your mind, because it's the one thing that can undermine all of your practice. Number 4, if you are negatively motivating yourself, you are likely developing imposter syndrome. What I mean by that is if you keep telling yourself it's not good enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm never going to be there, or I'm never going to make it, and then you use that as fuel to practice or prepare or work or do whatever you're doing, then when you finally achieve something, let's say you say, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I need to practice, I need to practice, I need to practice, and you do that enough to where you actually do win a job, or you get into the school, or you do whatever it is you do. When you're there, you have developed this system of operation of I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. That's a habit. That's on loop. That is not going to change just because you got into a school or you got a job. That's not going to change. So then you're in it thinking I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And then we start thinking things like, I don't deserve to be here. I have to prove myself. I have to prove that I deserve to be here. So I have to be the best at every single thing. And I'm not good enough, so I need to prove it. And so I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good. It goes over and over. So motivating yourself negatively will only develop this sense of imposter syndrome. Not because you're not good at your instrument. You're obviously there for a reason if you get the thing, or you're obviously getting better if you practice more. But your thought about it is going to make your experience so different. And you're allowed to think you're good at what you do. I just want to give you that permission right now in case no one's given it to you before. You're definitely allowed to think you're good at what you do, and it doesn't matter. It's not hurting anybody if you think you're good at what you do. You don't have to be so self-aware of all your flaws. Everyone knows that you're self-aware. We're all self-aware. But it's so important to say, look, I know I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to still get better. And I'm hungry to improve, and I'm so curious every day about what I can change or learn in my practice. That's a different energy. And now, number 5. Confidence does not come from accomplishments. I say this again. Confidence does not come from accomplishments. I also hear a lot of people say that their teachers sort of tell them to think about past things they've done, and that'll give them the confidence and strength to do the thing they want to do or get back up on stage. What I think is missing in this equation is every experience is new. And just because that student played well on a stage once doesn't mean their experience was what they wanted, right? Someone can play really well and be in fight or flight the whole time, totally feeling out of control, but it can sound in control to an audience. And so I think there's nuance there. So if we look to past accomplishments, maybe it doesn't feel like an accomplishment because now we're at a new level also. And when our brain does something and our body does something new, then we are automatically a little bit in fight or flight because we've never done the thing before, and that's scary to our brain and body, on top of already performing. Now, confidence in new situations comes from the willingness to feel any emotion. If you are willing to feel humiliated, upset, embarrassed, sad, disappointed, if you're willing to feel those things, you are ahead of like most people in the world. Because the majority of why we avoid things or don't do things is because of an emotion we don't want to feel. And if you don't know how to process really hard emotions, you can check out this video here where I have linked to how to do that. So the next time that you are faced with a really difficult emotion, you know how to process it. Because once you don't fear emotions, you're able to do anything confidently. Because I'll feel a little embarrassed afterward. I'm willing to do that. I know how to do that. I know how it feels in my body. It's not going to feel good, but I'm willing to do it. So our accomplishments are only going to create confidence if we have the thought that makes us feel confident about the accomplishment. Because I have definitely looked at my doctorate in a frame and thought, I'm not even working in academia right now. Like, that's all for nothing. That's an accomplishment that I am now using against myself. Right? So I could interpret my accomplishments in any way that I want to, but we need to do that intentionally. We want to have power over that, right? So we can have an accomplishment and still feel disempowered. So if we're trying to rely on accomplishments for our own confidence, know that you already have control over that. You already have agency over your own confidence. And isn't that so amazing? Because you don't need to actually accomplish anything else in order to feel more confident. Now, you don't have to earn confidence. You can, with integrity with yourself, feel good about where you are, admit to knowing what you know and what you don't know, and feel confident in that. And you don't have to feel like it's not enough. You don't have to feel like it's scarce. You can just accept where you are with the desire and curiosity to improve if you want to, and hold space for both of those things. You don't have to be utterly dissatisfied and hard on yourself in order to improve. You can be happily dissatisfied. You can be accepting of yourself and forward-facing and looking to what else you can learn because of the joy of learning and because of the joy of discovery and experimentation and excitement. You don't have to shame yourself into practicing. That's actually one of the most dangerous things that you can do for your career and your relationship with your instrument and your experience with music. Now, if you would like some help with your self-concept, I am going to link a video here that you can watch in case you feel like you want to change your story about yourself. So all of these things I said in this video are all about changing the stories that we have about ourselves in order to create a different result, right? We don't want to dig ourselves deeper into negative motivation. Practice time, of course we need it. We need to put in the time with our instrument. Our body has to learn our instrument, has to learn the music. Our subconscious needs to learn everything. But it matters how you do it. And I hope that is the message you'll take away today. And I will see you next time.